Rob Kelly. I'm a film historian, and the Tampa Theater has asked me to give a little background on Carrie. Before we go any further, I want to ask, is there anyone here who has not seen this movie before? All right, that's fantastic. That is great. I envy you the experience of being able to see this for the first time on the big screen. That's terrific. I won't be spoiling anything, don't worry. So, Stephen King partly based Carrie, the girl, the character, on a young girl he knew from school who came from a very rural, very poor part of Maine. She was teased mercilessly by her classmates for her threadbare, out-of-date outfits. So her family managed to scrape some money together over the summer. So the girl comes back to school in September with all new clothes. But the kids didn't care, and the bullying got even worse. In his wonderful autobiography on writing, King describes this girl's sullen face as it dawned on her that nothing she could do was going to change her situation. So when he was writing Carrie, King was living in a trailer with his wife and 2 children, working at an industrial laundry service while writing at night. King made it sound like a pretty brutal job, hot, exhausting, and at times pretty gross, which probably put him in the perfect mindset to write horror stories. King wrote about half of Carrie, but he wasn't happy with it, and he actually threw the manuscript out. But Tabitha pulled it out of the trash and told her husband, "I want to know how this ends, finish this." So imagine how much literary and cinematic history hinges on that one mistake. So King finishes the book, he got it published, and it became a bestseller. And that, of course, attracted Hollywood. Enter Brian De Palma. So by the early 1970s, Brian De Palma was making a name for himself thanks to some stylish, violent, and often very funny thrillers like Sisters, Phantom of the Paradise, and Obsession. He was a huge acolyte of Alfred Hitchcock. And he came along at the exact right time, where the master left off. Hitchcock's final film, Family Plot, came out just 1 year before Carrie. So De Palma used all the knowledge he acquired on his previous films for Carrie, further developing his directorial style. A couple examples of this are the numerous split diopter shots in Carrie, which marry 2 different elements of the frame together, one in the foreground, one in the background, but both in focus, hidden by a cut down the middle. There's the use of the Hitchcockian score. The film literally uses 4 notes from the Psycho shower scene at different points of the movie. And most notably during the prom scene, Bates High, by the way. That 2.5-minute unbroken shot that follows Carrie and Tommy, and then goes to PJ Souls' Norma as she collects the ballots from the different tables, and then over to Chris and Billy as they're about to execute their hideous plan. It took De Palma multiple days to get this shot, but he knew it would be essential for ratcheting up the tension in the final act. So speaking of the final act, the ending to the original novel is much, much more elaborate, with Carrie causing a lot more widespread destruction. All that was in the original script, but ultimately, De Palma didn't have the budget to shoot it. That meant he had to scale it down, which I think makes Carrie's story more relatable and tragic. Originally, there was a scene at the beginning of the movie where Carrie raised balls of fire down on the town. That scene apparently lost, but stills from it survived. And that was supposed to tie in with the original bigger ending. But De Palma never liked how it looked, so when the ending was rewritten, the scene at the beginning got dropped because it no longer had any payoff. So despite these major changes to his book, Stephen King, never shy about criticizing film adaptations of his work, has said over the years that he actually prefers Carrie the movie over Carrie the book. Carrie cost $1.8 million to make. It grossed $33 million, which would be about $175 million today, so it was a massive hit. Very rare for a horror movie. Even today, it was nominated for 2 Academy Awards for acting, one for Sissy Spacek, of course, and one for Piper Laurie. Spacek had turned in a great performance in 1973's Badlands, but it was Carrie that put her on the map, and she would go on to a career full of Oscar-nominated performances, and she finally won one in 1980. It also turned De Palma into one of the premier directors of Hollywood, but he never quite gave up his genre roots. His very next movie also deals with telekinesis, which is 1979's The Fury, which is the greatest head-exploding movie of all time. One last thing I want to mention before we start the movie. Today is our 3rd wedding anniversary. Hi, honey. Thank you. And one of the earliest things my wife and I connected over was our love of movies, especially going to see them on the big screen. So when we moved to Florida just last year, we made a commitment to visit every independent and repertory theater we could find. The Tampa was one of the first places we visited, and we have seen a lot of great movies here. So even though CARRIE is readily available at home, you can all watch it on the device in your pocket. Don't do that. You all came here at this allotted time to see this together. I think that's because people who value seeing movies on the big screen have a powerful, unconscious desire to, as Martin Scorsese has put it, share a common memory. So let's all experience this wonderful movie together. Thank you.